you had a great quote in one of your pieces, and I just want to share it with our listeners. You said that the 2020 summit exposed the hypocritical, illogical, and treacherous nature of most people in the modern green movement. It has been hijacked by a quasi-religious ideology which makes it ineffective at solving the big problems that we face. Now, Peter, as a kid, we had Clean Up Australia Day and things like that going on, but now I have never seen more rubbish on the ground than in 2023. Is this, have we lost sight of environmentalism?
Well, we have. When did you last hear about, worrying about the loss of the rainforest in Papua New Guinea? And yet we're closing down the Victorian hardwood forest industry. What's going to happen? We're going to be importing timber. So the preoccupation with climate change, Great Barrier Reef in Australia, means that there's all these other things that are happening around Australia which we're not worrying about. I mean, at the moment we're travelling in northern New South Wales at the moment, and we've seen huge problems with noxious weeds, right? We're not spending billions of dollars to fix that problem. There are so many other things which we could worry about and spend that, but we are being diverted by things which we shouldn't be worrying so much about, like record high coral on the Great Barrier Reef.
It's funny you use that particular example of noxious weeds. I'm actually in New South Wales and our family has a property here. Now, we get charged a fee from the government to deal with noxious weeds. The government never does a thing about noxious weeds, by the way, in most areas, and yet they make the farmers poorer so they can no longer afford to look after the weeds themselves, thus making the weed problem even larger. I mean, there doesn't seem to be anybody sitting in government saying, hang on, you're doing the reverse of what you say you're doing. Where has this common sense gone? I can't find it.
No, it's a huge problem. It's one of the points that I make. I come from a real conservation background. My mum, she didn't quite metaphorically stand in front of the bulldozers for the World Heritage listing of the rainforest in North Queensland, but she was right up there. And so, as a passionate conservationist, there are so many things which we should be doing which we're not. There are so many things which we should be worrying about. I mean, even on climate, moving away from the conservation things. So we should be worrying about if there's a massive volcanic eruption somewhere in the world, which happens every couple of hundred years, which would drop the temperature by a couple of hundred degrees. Now, the last time that happened was about 1815. It's going to happen again. A couple hundred years is not so long. We are not ready for that, and yet we're worrying about a gentle warming of 1.5 degrees and more CO2 in the atmosphere, which is making everything grow faster, especially in Australia. We've just got our priorities wrong, and a successful society is one which worries about the right things, and we're not worried about the right things at the moment.
Yeah, well, Italy's rumbling around at the moment thinking to itself, maybe it's our turn.